Well, I was married for over 20 years. One of the things my wife loved to do more than anything else was to go out to dinner. She said that going to dinner with me was no picnic. On the last anniversary that we spent together, I took her to the fanciest restaurant in town. The maitre d' said, "Are there two of you this evening?" I said, "No, there's one of me, there's one of my wife, and I'll have a double of whatever you've been drinking that's make you see double." He asked us to leave. My wife made me promise at the next restaurant that I wouldn't say anything until after we were seated. I noticed that our waitress had bright red hair, so I commented on it. "Wow, your hair is really red." She smiled. I dye it. I said, "If I lose weight, will my hair turn red too?" Then there was the time at Perkins. I was having breakfast. The waitress said, "Toast, pancakes, or a mammoth muffin?" I said, "How do I know it's a mammoth muffin? How do I know it's not a mastodon muffin?" She grit her teeth. "Toast, pancakes, or a mammoth muffin?" "Toast." "I'm not eating your muffin. I guess nobody else is either." Then there was a time at a place called Montana Jack's. They told us it would be a 20-minute wait, so we sat down on the benches. 30 seconds later, some lady comes in and said, "My husband's in here somewhere. Is it okay if I go find him?" And the hostess said, "Yeah." So the lady just walked right on by. I said, "What? That actually works? Why didn't I think of that?" So I stood up and I faced the hostess and I said, "My husband's in here somewhere. Is it okay if I go find him?" Not okay. One of the places my wife used to love to eat more than any other was Old Chicago restaurants. Has anybody here ever eaten in Old Chicago? They have a pizza there called the Chicago 7. It has 7 different ingredients, and it is to die for. The waiter said, "What can I get you folks this evening?" My wife said, "We'd like to try a Chicago 7. No mushrooms, please." So technically, I guess that makes it a Chicago 6. He said, "Why don't you like mushrooms?" She said, "Oh, I love mushrooms." It's him that has a problem with it. So he turned to me and he said, "Why don't you like mushrooms?" Well, it's not that I don't like the way they taste. I just don't like the way they look. They look like cross-sections of dickheads, and I just can't put them in my mouth. He said, "All righty then," and off to the kitchen he went. 30 seconds later, the entire kitchen erupted into laughter. My wife said, "He's back there telling on you." And sure enough, every one of the kitchen workers came out and paraded past our table so they could see what we looked like. My wife was thoroughly embarrassed. 1 month later, we went back. The hostess said, "Mr. and Mrs. Mushroom, your table is ready." They had already nicknamed us. The waiter came out and he said, "Let me guess, Chicago 7, no mushrooms." My wife was furious. She said, "No, I'm going to try something different." Instead, she had a pizza, personal pizza, with everything on it that she wanted. So he turned to me and said, "And for you, sir?" I said, "Well, I guess I'll have to try something different then, too. I'd like to try the meatball stromboli." The meatball? Seriously? Wouldn't that kind of be like placing testicles in your mouth? I said, "Well, I don't know. I've never actually had testicles in my mouth before." He says, "All righty then," and off to the kitchen he went. My wife said, "You ass! Based on what you told him last month, he's going to think you actually have dickheads in your mouth." About that time, the entire kitchen erupted into laughter. Once again, all the kitchen help came out and paraded past our table so they could see what we looked like. My wife was more than embarrassed, she was humiliated. About 5 minutes later, the manager came out and he said, "Folks, there's no charge for your meal this evening. My crew hasn't laughed this hard in a month." As he turned to walk away, my wife said, "Philip, right now you are the world's biggest asshole." I said, well, why don't you tell the cook? Maybe we can still get dessert. You guys are a great audience. I'm Phil Tilley, the Boise. Thank you.